It was a really tough decision, but the best decision I've ever made. I think that a lot of people think that they need to hire someone with the credentials. So they seek to hire a licensed dietitian with the 2 letters behind their name. But the reality is, I did that. I thought that was the case too. So I went through all the schooling and I took all the tests and I did the internship and, got all the education and found out that just because someone's a licensed dietitian doesn't mean they're the best expert in the industry. And I actually ended up leaving the industry for a few key reasons. So what happened was, just a few years into my career, totally unexpectedly, the Minnesota Board of Nutrition and Dietetics came after me to cease and desist my approach to nutrition and weight loss. And the reality is that I guess it shouldn't have been such a surprise. I mean, I've been in this health and weight loss space for a decade, and everything that I teach is totally opposite to what I learned in school to be a dietitian. And the reason why I do that, the reason why my values are just not aligned with theirs at all, is because I'd rather get results than spew out information from dusty old textbooks. And what I found was, when I actually dug into the research and looked at what actually works for people to get healthy and to lose weight, it's not actually what I learned in dietitian school. The whole low-fat, low-calorie diet, that's all they wanted me teaching. And the reality is, you've got to look at the body as a whole. I mean, that's why we get the results that we get in our coaching programs. It's because we're looking at all the pieces of a person's metabolic puzzle, not just diet and exercise. There's a ton of other factors that we've got to take into consideration. The body is so complex, and it's just so frustrating to me that so many practitioners aren't looking at the big picture. And I think what's even more frustrating is that, I was trying to do the right thing. I just want to help people. I want to help people get healthier. And I've seen over and over again women who follow all of these diets that just don't see the results that they're looking for. And then I think the saddest part is they feel like they're a failure. They feel like there's something wrong with them because they're following the advice of a dietitian or nutritionist, and they're counting their calories and they're working out like a crazy person. And in the end, they end up, fatter and sicker and more frustrated than they ever were. So that's why, my approach looks at hormones and thyroid and supplements and sleep and stress and food and exercise, but not just food and exercise. And because of that, that's why the board came after me and said, you can't do that. We only want you talking about food, and it's got to be low calorie, low fat. And, I was so frustrated about this. I fought for a while, and I really wanted to hang on to those credentials because I really valued them. And for a long time, I thought, you've got to go to a practitioner that has credentials, that's super respected and has that title. And in the end, I had to ask myself, what do I really value most? And what I value most is results. Because what I've seen over the years is our clients transform, not just physically. It's not just about losing weight and keeping it off. I mean, that's what I'm known for, but it's about so much more than that. It's about feeling like yourself again. It's about the best energy levels you've ever had and staying focused throughout the day and having energy at the end of the day to play with your kids or your grandkids and to get to travel and to experience freedom and live life to the fullest. And so many women are just trapped in these bodies that they don't even feel like are theirs, and they're getting these sugar cravings every day that are just controlling them, and they don't know what to do, and they try doing all these diets and things that actually end up making them just feel more flawed. But the problem is, we're not flawed. I'm not flawed and you're not flawed. It's the information that's been given to us that's flawed. And that's why, I'm just totally not aligned with the current approach to nutrition and weight loss. It's not even fundamentally backed by science. When I dug into the research and I found out things like cholesterol is actually a really important nutrient. We actually need it. And, high-fat diets are probably actually better than high-carb diets because of how they regulate blood sugar and insulin. And wow, there's more to metabolism than just diet and exercise. When I discovered all these things, I was like, why is the foundation of our nation's, dietary recommendations, why is it eating more carbohydrates? And why on my dietitian exam did I have to answer a test question wrong because the question was, what's healthier for weight loss, an avocado or a 100-calorie snack pack of cookies? I literally had to put cookies for the answer to get it right. So looking back at all these instances in my life, I'll never forget when I walked into my first annual conference as a dietitian, and and I saw this big tent sponsored by Pepsi. They had this whole calorie counting campaign. And I was like, what's Pepsi doing at the annual conference for food and nutrition professionals? And then I saw McDonald's, and then I saw Splenda. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh, my entire education is funded by these big food corporations who don't have our best interest at heart. They don't want the best for us. And this is literally where my dietitian education is coming from. And back then I was still kind of naive, and I kind of looked past it, and I knew that, in my heart of hearts, I just wanted to help people and I wanted to learn everything that I could. But looking back, it's like I see all these signs along the way, and anytime something doesn't feel right or make sense, I think it's really important to follow the money. And especially when it comes to business, and especially when it comes to bureaucracy. And because of that, when that's where the board, and that's where the Board of Nutrition and Dietetics, that's where they're coming from, that's not in line with my values. I want to help people. I want to get real results and real change and help people live life to the fullest. And for that reason, I had to really take a stance on, where do I stand in this and what am I willing to do? And I wasn't willing to teach something that isn't aligned with me, but also isn't even research-based. So because of that, I kissed my dietitian license goodbye. And I think the lesson that we can all learn from this is there's points in our life when we just have to ask, like, what's aligned and what's not. And I think sometimes we do things just because we feel like we're supposed to. Even fighting for my license, I just felt like, I worked so hard for that, and some people really respect these credentials, and I really need to keep those. But ultimately, in the end, I was like, it's not even aligned with what I stand for. It's not even aligned with what I know works. Having those credentials aren't serving anyone. So I think sometimes in life it's just important to step back and look at what we're doing and see if it's in line with who we are and what we believe and where we want to go. And that's why this was one of the most important lessons of my life. And it was a really tough decision, and I think it was a really good one. So my challenge to you is just to ask yourself, is there anything in your life that you're feeling like you're supposed to do, but deep down inside you just get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, like something just doesn't quite feel right? For me, asking those tough questions really led me to becoming in complete alignment in my life, and like the biggest transformation that I've ever had. So I challenge you to ask those questions and see where it takes you.